Hello guys, so I finished the changing color spaces tab offline. I just added this one in range and improved the CSS for this one. And for this one, in range you can set a range between like put a lower value for RGB and an upper limit to RGB, and all the values inside this range are going to be white, and the values outside this range are going to be black. So and I also made some fast buttons. So sky, this is the range of the sky. So you can see that almost all the sky is white, just for the sake of examples. And also human skin, you see that it detects more or less the skin. Of course it's not perfect, it's a very simple approximation. Here is a range even more flexible for the human skin. So if we select this one, it does detect the human skin, more or less. It detects the sky, more or less. Okay, so I finished that one, and also this one. Okay, so what we want to do now is to finish let me see. That's kind of boring. These ones are good. But I want to implement these high pass filters. Okay, this is what we are going to do next. So we are going to implement this Laplacian example. So what we need to do is almost copy paste and change values So remember that our main component is image modifier. Image modifier imports all these components when these are all, each tab is a component, corresponds to these components, and each tab has sub-components, and those sub-components are these ones: grayscale, in range, and in the case of smoothing, Gaussian blur, median blur, bilateral filter. And what each of these sub-components have is a bunch of inputs corresponding to the parameters of each filter, and a button that executes the steps to apply the filter, the corresponding filter. It extracts the information from the inputs and give them to, so this is no longer necessary, and give them to the function. In this case, averaging needs the size of the kernel. So as input, we have two inputs for x and y. We give the input, we call the function, we get the information from the inputs, we give the inputs to the OpenCV kernel size element, and then we apply the transformation. And it's the exact same process for all the filters. The only thing that changes is the amount of inputs, because some of them require more inputs. Like this one, this requires 8 inputs, or like this one, it requires 3. And maybe the other difference is that sometimes the inputs must be odd numbers for some reason. And that's it. At this point, it's almost copy-paste and changing the names of the IDs for the control components, call the corresponding components, and so on. So let's do the high pass filter. That one will be gradients. Okay, let's copy paste below. Let's copy paste the smoothing one. Okay, so we have that one. We are going to need all these imports. The name is different. and we return gradients. We delete this. We delete this. And now the functions. Here we have three. No, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many do we have? We have a Sobel, Laplacian, and this one. There's a modification for the Sobel. You can read the theory and understand it. I used to, at one point I understood all these filters. Most of the times are convolutions. So we will have to do something for this case because we have two outputs. One like a filter in the horizontal direction and the other in the vertical direction. So we will need to do something about that. This one is good, so we are going to start with this one. And this also, this is like the absolute value of one of the directions for the Sobel. In this case, the x direction. Okay, let's start with this one, Laplacian. Let me see. How do you say that?
Laplacian. Laplacian.
Laplacian.
Laplacian.
Okay, let's go. The first one is going to be this one. Just need to copy paste that section. Okay, now we need to change these parameters. Well, what are those parameters? The source distance, depth, so these three. So I discovered that this one needs to be an odd number. These two ones, they can be any integer. They can even be negative. So this one needs to be positive and odd. Okay. So I created the 3 variables. Now we need to replace accordingly. Check whether they are null or not. Give default values if they are null, like here. Then set the input components in the HTML as the values, and so on. So let me finish it and you can see the end result. Okay, so we have just replaced all the variables. We created the ID strings as variables in order to have just one place to modify the ID string in just one place, not to change like in several places like I was doing before. That's a very bad practice. So the case size needs to be positive and odd. So this is what this line of code does. If it's odd, then go on and get that value. If it's not, then add 1. These ones, they do not need to be positive nor odd, so we just transform them into an integer. Then this is the default value in case we have something wrong or null. This if checks whether they are null or not. So by default we give these values. Then we set the value to be the value that we are going to use and not a different one, because here we change the value given from the user through the input. So we want to reflect that change on the input field, and then we execute the filter a function with these 3 variables. Now we need to give that name. We need to go here so let's do that to be, let's make that the main filter. Scale ID, delta ID, case size ID. So since they are not related like x and y, we don't need them to be next to each other. So they can be on top of each other. So we can save space, because in a cell phone we are going to have problems with the width. Key size ID, scale ID. We need another one. Delta ID, and placeholder is 110. Those are the default values. Let's change this a little. Just in case. This will be key size, scale, delta. Anyway, we can just leave them with these names. Maybe this name is taken. I have to check about that. And we need to change the name of this. Instead of that one, let's see if it works. Yeah, it works. It works. To keep the changes. I need to fix this movement. Keep the changes. Disappear. Anyway, so you see, we just copy paste and replace values. Now let me see what I'm going to do with these two outputs filters. Maybe there is a way to add them up again and get them in one image. So the difference is in the inputs. It's not that it generates two outputs from one input. So I set the same inputs and it gave the same output. So we can proceed as normal. Okay, so since we have how many parameters? 4. We are going to use this one as a draft. It doesn't say anything about the well, yeah, they cannot be negative. This can be negative. No, we have we have 5. Source, distance, depth 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 and what is that number? That's also a parameter. We have 5. Five parameters. One, two, three, four, five. So we annotate the variables here. Now we are going to change the variables accordingly. So we have finished replacing the variables. So we did the exact same thing as before, but with 2 additional variables. Also one, these must be positive integers. This case size must be odd and positive. These ones can be any integer. We change the DST. And now we have also given the corresponding names. Let's see if this works. It looks that is working. Let's change parameters to make sure that all of them are working. I cannot give 0. I want to give 1 and 0 here. I cannot do that. So that's a problem. 0, 1. Okay, this is horizontal, vertical, both. Okay, so that's the one by default. This is not needed. And also let me comment this out to see if whether it changes or not. I don't see any change because they added that here. So this is better supposedly because they added this one. Okay, I will leave that there. Now so what else can we do besides implementing all the transformations? What we can do is to first fix the CSS to avoid the CSS to be moving like this, especially when you're going to click here, it moves. The other thing that we need to do is to have two sets of images. The ones that are shown for the user to see the changes, and the ones that are going to be downloaded. So they need to be different. They need to go through the same changes, but one is going to be the ones that we're going to show to the user, are going to be small. To avoid things like this to happen. So there are always going to be like this size. This size is good. And on the background, we are going to be doing the same changes to the original images. So when you download the image, you are going to download the original, the one with the original size, and not the small ones here. So that's the idea. So that's the next two things that we're going to do. I think that will be it for this tutorial, because you can add the remaining filters, and I want to make some more interesting things, like grabbing or selecting a section of the picture and applying a transformation only to that section or something like that. That I would like to do that, because filling up this transformation is going to take a while, a lot, and it's just tedious, and it doesn't add any new knowledge. It's just copying and pasting the same code and changing the variable names. So yeah, that will be for today's episode. So if you find any value on these tutorials or any suggestions, I know I need to improve my audio, but I was just trying to start. Wait. Well, anyway, I need to do that. But if you find any value, just please make a comment or push the thumbs up. Press the thumbs up. Yeah, so thank you. Bye.